Hello, hello, hello. We are back for another episode of Book Talk. Let me go ahead and pin that. Hello, come on in. Getting ready. Oh, there's my guest. I was just saying, getting ready to invite my guest to join me. Whew. It is Friday. Why won't it let me? Can you request to join? Let's see. Oh, there it is. Uh,
Hello.
there you are.
Yes, I can hear you
Hello. Can
good.
you hear me okay?
Good
Okay, great.
evening.
How are
I'm
you?
good.
Good
How are you?
evening. I am great. Yeah, it's been a long day, so I am glad to have this conversation. And so, yeah, I'm like, yeah, but we're not here for me.
So let's go ahead and keep
Let's,
it real. I've had a long day too. It's
okay.
been Friday has been Friday-ing. It's been a day.
Yeah. Okay. Literally, it's just before I was getting ready to do this, I was talking to a potential client author who's working on a book. And so I work with referrals. Somebody referred them to me. And so I was like, I got to take this call. And so I was like, trying to hurry up. Let me take this call. Let me finish it. And then let's go because I was like, I got some more stuff to do. So as soon as we get off of this, baby, I'm getting in the shower and relaxing, putting my feet up so nobody else
Listen.
bother me. My phone going on do not disturb, and so I'm ready.
Yes,
Someone
hey
said yes,
Sarah.
ready.
Yes.
Yes, me
Oh my
too.
God, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I know we just started talking. I'm familiar with who you are, but maybe there's someone watching this now or even on the replay. If you don't mind introducing yourself, and we'll go ahead
Absolutely.
and get this
So,
thing going.
my name is Nina Evans. I am the author of This Means More, It's Bigger Than Me, which is your guide to find the more hidden in the moments of your life. I have a book, I have a workbook, but
Mm.
outside of that, I am an accountant. I've known I wanted to be an accountant since seventh grade, so I still do accounting now. My 9 to 5
Oh.
is accounting, and I'm a financial coach, so I help people win with their money, get on a budget and win with their money because God has a plan for our money, and not just our lives, but that
Yeah.
includes our money. And so I have the pleasure of doing that. I'm a sister, a friend. I work for the church that I attend. I also work for them too. So I'm a busybody, but it's all purpose. It's all purposeful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many hats, many hats, many hats. Yeah, and that's so funny you said that because this past week I do a lot of learning on YouTube. I will listen to YouTube while I'm doing my work. And one of the things that I had came across, I don't know who said it, but they were talking about that there's three reasons why people do
Mm-hmm.
things. One, purpose. Two, dang, I wish I had it written down. One was purpose, and there was two other things, but when you said purpose, that made me think of that. There was two other reasons. The other two slipped my mind, but I guess we can just go with that purpose. And so, did you know that you wanted to be an author, or how did that kind of
So
begin for you?
I never, never had set out to be an author. I did not. But after many experiences in my life, and so I was living in China when the pandemic started, and I was traveling during the midst of like when it all really got crazy. And so I ended up not being able to make it back to China. So I had to come back to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I don't have a job. I don't have, I don't know what's next in my
Mm-hmm.
life. And so I heard God say, write the book. And so here we are with purpose. And, when we really reflect on our lives, we all have a story to tell. And I didn't necessarily think my
Yeah.
story was worthy of telling, if you will, but Once God kind of started to reveal things to me, it's like, you've been through too much. You need to share your story with someone else, because you are going to encourage and help someone else on their journey in life. And so fast forward, in the middle of the pandemic, I'm living with my cousin and his family because I don't have anywhere to go at this moment. And I couldn't find a job because we were all at home. And so I was like, write the book. So here we are. I had no idea what I was doing when I started, but I was just like, I'm gonna do what he asked me to do, and that was write the book, and then I'm gonna let him take it from there. So here we are from there.
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. And you have a book,
I
a
do have an audio
workbook. Did you
book.
say audiobook too? I missed what you really. That's awesome. So let's
It's
talk about
called
it.
This
Tell us
Means
the
More,
title of
It's
it
Bigger
again.
Than Me. So I have it in whatever form you prefer to read. So if you like the physical book, if you like the ebook, the audio book, I have it in all forms.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
what the book is
so I call
about?
it the guide to finding the more hidden in the moments of your life. And so what I really do is encourage people to look at the puzzle pieces of their life. If you see the book cover is about puzzle pieces, because I believe that
Beautiful, yeah.
everything that we've been through in our life is a puzzle piece. So your puzzle, you have your childhood, you have your parents, your family, your how you grew up, your career path that you've been on. All of those are separate puzzle pieces, but they all come together to form who you are. That's who we celebrate as you, is all the many different things that you've been through on your journey in life, that we all know as your story. And so in the book, I walk you through my puzzle pieces, and then I encourage you to have a reflection at the end of each chapter that I encourage you to do the same. And then now that I have the workbook, I've created this resource for you to go even deeper in your story and actually be able to journal through the puzzle pieces of your life.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, no, that's good. And I think you've gone about it the right way. So many times I'm the kind of reader and like receiver when I'm listening to people, it's like I don't really want to be preached at. I don't know. I don't like to be yelled at. I get in the, you know what I'm saying? Even when like going to church, I don't
Right.
really like being you. Like, it just feels like too much for me. And so I like it when you say, this is my life. This is what I've done. This is how I've done it. This is what I've gone through. Take it or leave it. You can use my story as a roadmap, that kind of thing. That's more receivable. The people, to me, in my experience, people are more receptive when you share your
Mm-hmm.
story as like a blueprint. Like, this is what I've done. This is how I've done it. It might work for you, it might not, but versus, this is what I've done, you also need to do it like this. And I think that's where a lot of authors lose people, especially with like this sort of kind of thing, because I don't know, are you a life
No,
coach
no,
as well, Amy?
I'm not a, like, I've just been,
No? Okay. You're not okay. And so I want to say, most of the time it's mostly life coaches that are really like preachy, like, you gotta do that. Don't like it, and I don't know if it's received well. And so I enjoy that. I
oh,
appreciate that. Thank you so much, because it's really unique. I think it's really unique. I think a lot of people sometimes, and this is just my own 2 cents. People don't know me from a can of paint. It don't matter my opinion, but I did feel like I should share, because I think it will be good, and it will continue to be well received because of the way that you're presenting it, as in, this is my story. You can reflect on your own personal experiences. There's an area for you to reflect, and then there's a workbook for you to even go deeper if you want to. And so that's amazing. And so, how have you got any other good feedback on your book? What's your journey been like so
the
far?
journey has been, to be honest, it's blown my mind. Because like I said, sometimes we can always, or I'm sure we all have had moments where we feel like, um, my life doesn't matter, or do I matter? And does my journey and things that I've experienced in life, does that matter? And so, the feedback that I've received are like, people like, I can relate to you. I've been through that. You don't have a relationship with your mother, and that's tough to say in the Black community. But like people are like, but I connect with that, and so it has been amazing to really connect with people on a deeper level, and to have the workbook. So yeah, it's my journey, and I share my pieces because again, we are all here. Life is hard. We all know life has its ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, but we are not like you're not doing life alone. Somebody else has possibly been through what you've been through, and so you can connect and build community through your experiences. So as we share, as we open up, then you make someone else, you help someone else to be able to tell their story and not be afraid of that. And so I have just received comment after comment. I recently had someone message me the other day, and she said, you know, I really am struggling with something in my career. And I've been looking at leadership books and trying to do everything I can to shift my perspective. She was like, and I picked up your book and read your chapter about your career and some of the things that you've endured and how you've been able to overcome. And she was like, oh my God, that gave me a new perspective on what I'm currently going through. And that just blew me away because I'm just like, you know, I just didn't know that my story could really impact people in that way. But we're all called, you know, here to encourage and uplift and help each other. And so I'm just blown away that I get to do this through my book.
Yeah, no, and that's something that's so important you said about, you know, sharing your stories, because I think it does two things. I think for the person who's sharing, when you speak those things out loud, or even when you write them down and you publish it and it's out there in the world for somebody else that you don't even know to purchase, it for me, I feel like it brings healing as the writer, right? I feel like it brings healing for the writer, but I think for the reader, it also brings healing for them, and it also encourages them and empowers them to do the same, maybe to even follow suit and share their story, whether it be written or they share it just kind of like how we're talking, you know, audibly. And it just, it's what is the word I'm looking for? It's contagious. It's contagious. It's like, man, once you, right, and it for me, it also like kills shame, because there's a lot of shame around a lot of our stories, and I think that could also be a reason why a lot of people do not want to tell their stories, because it's laced with shame. And I think that sometimes we self-shame, and sometimes we go through things that we're thinking, man, I should have known better. And I just did a post about this the other day. Like, I should have known better, but okay, maybe you should have, but now you know better. And maybe that now you know better, you can tell your story of what you went through, kill that shame, and set yourself free, and then maybe set somebody else free while you're sharing your story.
Yeah.
And so that's
And I want to
awesome.
piggyback off
Yeah.
that because I wrote the book, but I did not immediately publish the book after I had completed the manuscript. It was the hardest thing for me to actually release it and put it out there for other people to see, because I've always been a very private person. I'll share some things with people, but like I have to really be close to you for you to know certain details of my life. And so when I had the challenge for writing the book, I was like, oh, this is going to be, you know, like people are really going to read some things that, I mean, they're going to read all the things that I've struggled with and been through in my life. But I dedicated the book to the little girl inside of me and inside of the little person, little guy, little girl, and all of us who has been afraid to speak up most of their lives. Because my journey through my childhood, I learned to be silent. I learned to not speak then. And so it's been a journey of me learning to speak up, me being confident in having the ability to use my voice. And so having this book and being, you know, and it being in written form and people can read my story, because to be honest, this is probably the one place where you're going to read, you know, about details about my life, things that I've never shared, things I've never talked about, I've always remained silent on, but it's here in this book. And so that was a challenge for me to actually release that, right? Because now so there was the shame, there was a fear of judgment, there was, does my story even matter? There were all of these thoughts that plagued me.
Yeah.
But it was like, nope, you got to release it. And like I said, I've been blown away at the amount of people that have said that this book has helped them. It's encouraged them. Now they want to write and tell their story. They're getting a shift in their perspective on things that they've been through in their life. They're getting some clarity. It's been amazing. And I'm in awe still.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I hope, you might be helping somebody now who's listening. I hope so. Matter of fact, as soon as we get done, tomorrow, I said as soon as we get done, I'm going to rest. But maybe tomorrow when I like to share the replays on YouTube. And so I'm going to have to send this to someone because their face came to mind when you were talking about, I know this particular person. They are there. They have a story to tell. Maybe they got a story to tell. But I don't know if it's the shame, but a reason what they gave me why they are not sharing their story is, well, they said, Aurelia, who am I? Like, I'm just a regular person. Why would I share my story? Or my story's not even over. I'm still living. Yeah, but there's been tough times that you've gone through and have made it over. Yes, you're still living your story, but you can share parts of it. I think when people think of like memoirs or sharing my story or doing an autobiography, they feel like they have to be 80 years old and like live their whole life and now they're retired or whatever the case is, and now they can share. They feel like they have to be some celebrity or some big name. You don't have to. I think that I don't know where we get that from, and it could just be an excuse or just whatever. Fear could just be talking. But I like that you said that that you struggled a little bit with that, and then just put it out there because you never know. We are here absolutely to help each other, and maybe that could be a way to be of service. And then, I know I published a book a couple years ago about my journey as a single mama, as a single Christian mama, and I've shared about how I struggle every now and then with being that single mom in church with her 8-year-old child by herself, no ring on my finger, and the thoughts that go through my head. Oh, is this person looking at me or whatever, those kind of things. But since I've shared it, every now and then I'll get people that will like reach out like, hey, I can relate to that. But my family, the people who I thought would like read it and like come after me and attack me, they haven't even read it. Will you believe that? And so I was like, well, that's okay. And like you kind of said, like there were things in that book that I wrote and published that even my own family did not know about. Now my dad has read it and we've had conversations about some of the things and stuff like that. There are people in my family who have read it, but then there's other people who I was worried about ain't read it, and it's okay, and I'm okay with that. And so I'm right there with you.
And one thing I want to add on that is,
go ahead.
The one thing that it's in the book, that your obedience matters. You being able to share your story or to listen when someone is talking, like your obedience matters, because I'm not, if this book helps even just one person, then I've done my job. But there are people assigned to us. They're assigned to us on this journey of life. And so for us to be able to encourage them and uplift them, then we have to be, number one, be honest with ourselves about where we've been in our own journeys. But we can encourage and uplift each other. So why not share our story? And again, I know we got to work through the fear of judgment, the shame, and some guilt. But one thing that helped is I had to remember that this needs more is bigger than me, right? It's not just about me. And as long as this is my truth, this is my truth. Somebody else may read it and be like, I disagree. That is not how it is. I'm living. This is my truth that I got to write, and this is my story. And I get to choose how I tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And that takes courage and confidence, baby. That takes courage and confidence. And absolutely. I think sometimes we forget, even readers, I think sometimes readers forget that these authors, we're people. We're people first. We've experienced things. I used to think that authors were like some elite group of people that nobody can
Mm-hmm.
touch. And I couldn't believe that people would like leave 1-star reviews. I would never. But I'm like, what? Since I've been working in this publishing field and talking to authors, I'm like, we're people. Being the author myself, we're people, right? I want people to feel comfortable and be able to reach out and connect with me and contact me. I do want to make money, but it's also my prayer that God, I don't want to be so
Right.
big where I'm inaccessible to those who are reading what I've written. I want to be accessible to people so that they can see, you know, I'm around the way kind of a girl, you know? And so that has always been kind of my thing. And so I do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and sharing your book with us. It's really important that we have these conversations and that we encourage others to tell their story as well. And so I'm loving this conversation. What else? Can you tell us about one of, if you don't mind, one of the more difficult chapters that you've had to write
Ooh,
in your book?
one of the most difficult. I will say, I wrote about grief. I was
Okay.
so I'm the baby of 5 with my siblings, and it's 4 girls and 1 boy,
Mm.
and my brother 2 weeks before my high school graduation, my brother died suddenly, unexpectedly,
Mm.
and that rocked my world. That has rocked my family's world. And so I had to
Mm.
writing that chapter was the one of several. But when I was writing, right, you're reliving
Mm.
the story that you're telling, and so
Yeah.
I had to make sure that I was breathing and pausing through writing that journey. But it was important for me
Mm-hmm.
to share because I know that I am not the only one that has or that is dealing with grief in some form. And so to be able to write
Mm-hmm.
about that and share, my journey through that, and I share all the details from I was the one that answered the phone when his coach called my parents. And so I write, I
Mm.
share in the book the details about that phone call and what I remember saying and what I was feeling through
Mm-hmm.
that journey. And so there's some parts of the book that are heavy, and that are, hard, but that is life and that is our journey in life. I don't just share just the
Yeah.
highlight reels of my life's journey, but
Mm-hmm.
I share the hard moments. And so grief has been one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with and work through.
Yeah, wow. And so another person's face came to mind while you were talking. I just formatted not too long ago a book for a gentleman. He wrote a poetry book. His brother had passed away recently, I take it, and he was just writing a poetry book in remembrance of his brother. And a lot of his poems were titled Untitled Number One, Untitled Number Two. And so he was asking me about my feedback. When I'm formatting books, I don't typically read them. And so I said, well, what I took away from it, I said, a lot of your things are untitled. A lot of your things are kind of, it seems like you wrote them as it was coming to you. And he said, yeah. He said, I wrote this more so as a healing for myself, as a way to kind of go back and kind of relive that moment. Because he said, for while he was in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, he felt like he was numb. And so even with writing the book, he said he still felt kind of disconnected. And so he said, I didn't have time to come up with a title. He said, I wasn't worried about a title. So a lot of his stuff was untitled. And that was the title of it. And I said, I get it. And I said, that's real. And I said, there's probably people out there who can relate, that want to write and that want to talk about grief, but it's done
Yeah.
in a very unconventional way. But I haven't lost a sibling. I live here with my sister, and man, I can only imagine. I've lost like
Right.
grandparents and stuff like that, and it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
different, right? It's a different connection that you have with them. And so I can only imagine, but what I do know about
It
grief
is.
is it's unconventional. It is not a straight line. And so it made so much sense for this person to share that way. And so when you were talking about, you know, this is one of the like heaviest parts
Yeah.
in the book. Yeah, grief is really heavy, really, really heavy. Thinking about one of my friends, I had a podcast that I was doing with this gentleman during COVID. Never met him, but good brother, good black brother, right? And Christian brother. I met him and his wife, and they would pray for me. They would always get a prayer
Yeah.
through. I knew if there was someone that I was going to ask to pray for me, I'm coming to them, right? He passed away about a year or so ago. Never got to meet him in person, and that was really hard for me. I went to his funeral, all
Yeah.
of that, and that was so hard. And even today, I still like, even now talking about this is really like, my
Mm-hmm.
chest is a little tight. I ain't even gonna lie to you. My chest is a little tight talking about it. But I think that, you know, again, these conversations, sharing,
Being
being real, being authentic, especially with artificial intelligence coming out. And I think that there's a place for it. I think people are gonna start craving authenticity more. And so if you're already that kind of a person who's authentic and real and can be confident and courageous and brave and share your real
mm-hmm.
life stories and not just the highlights, man, people are going to be desperate for that. And I think that, you know, the opportunity to make an impact in this world will increase as things
Mm-hmm.
become more watered down, more technical. I think people are going to be craving, you know, the real
Yeah.
connection, real life
And I
connections.
fully
Yeah.
believe, right, that we all at some level and at some point in our lives, whether we've been hurt or you know, you have trust issues or whatever it is, we desire genuine connection. Like you said, being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
having people that we can genuinely connect with that are good people, you know, and so being able to share that through a book and not hold back. I mean, that is one of my prayers for my book, is
Mm-hmm.
that people really feel that they can genuinely connect in some form or way with the chapter or with more than one chapter in this book, and that they are
Mm-hmm.
inspired to do take inventory of their life, because that's what I call it. The puzzle pieces. We all need to stop and really
Mm-hmm.
take inventory of our life, because it is so easy, especially when you're going through the hard
Yeah.
chapters, to get caught up and focused on that one
Mm-hmm.
chapter. And so you kind of forget about all the other pieces that have happened. But
Mm-hmm.
when you take inventory of your life, you kind of
Yeah.
stop and say, let me take a step back, let me breathe, let's look at the bigger picture of it all, and then let me break it down. And you really realize, like, even though
Mm-hmm.
you've had hard moments, in the bigger picture and in the grand scheme of it all, you really do have a beautiful life and you have a beautiful story to tell and share with other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was something that's so funny. I was sharing in a Facebook group I'm a part of. I was kind of sharing my testimony about trouble doesn't last always. You know, what last year was really hard for me personally. I went through a lot of changes, but it was the best year in my business, but I was so focused on the hard stuff that I didn't see that even though I felt like I wasn't working as much, last year there was not a month where I did
Yeah.
not have something to work on. But because my personal life was changing so much and it felt like it was out of my control, I didn't recognize that actually I had a pretty freaking good year. It was like once I kind of like my focus shifted and I was able to
Mm-hmm.
really stop and rest, I was able to see, you know what, girl, even though you were going through some things, you were okay. And I shared that earlier today, just about trouble does not last always. And even when you're going through it, you can still, if you look for it, if someone would tell me
Mm-hmm.
raise your sight, like raise your perspective, and really see that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, everything is gonna be okay. Things do get better, and it's kind of like a wave. We kind of ride this wave of life, and it's like, man, those hard times, boy, they can have you a hot goodness, I don't even know how.
Yeah.
When I tell you God, what? Even if you don't believe in God, even if you're the higher power, the whatever you want to, baby, had
Yes.
me together. Because when I tell you, I don't know how I was doing stuff. I don't know how, because it was hard. But now being able to share my story and my testimony just in this way, I have no desire to put it in a book, but this is just how I've been sharing, is just through talking, and just every now and then I might do a post or whatever, but it's gonna be okay. And so I
Yeah, and you know
really
what? And
love
one of my
this.
favorite scriptures,
Yeah.
if you are a Bible reader, you don't have to be, is Romans 8:28. All things are working together for our good. And so,
Yeah.
it's hard to see when you are in the midst of the hard moments, but when you really start to look at the bigger
Yeah.
picture, you start to see that some of the puzzle pieces connected. I needed to go through that then so that I could be where I am now. Your journey of what you went through last year, maybe you
Yeah.
don't understand all the pieces yet, but you're gonna have that moment come, and
Yeah.
you're gonna encounter somebody in your path that is gonna be like, oh my God, you just helped me through that, and then you're gonna be like, oh, that's why I had to go through that, because I needed to help somebody else and guide them on their journey through, this hard time. And so it's a process. And so we got to give ourselves grace through the process.
Yeah.
We all are a work in
Yeah.
progress in that. And I'm here to tell you I'm a work in progress with that, because, we're all hard on ourselves, and it feels, we all want to present like we have it all together, right? Because that feels good. But the truth is
Yeah.
I'm a hot mess too. I just, some days, I ain't gonna lie, today, if I'm honest, I've been a hot mess today. I've been a hot mess today, but I'm
Okay.
like, but I couldn't just focus on, what I was going through today. I had to, I gotta encourage other people. And again, it's not putting on a facade of like, oh, that's why I'm being honest. I was a hot mess today, but I'm not. But today isn't my only day either.
Right. Right. Yeah. And something you said earlier my mom would always tell me when I was real young, and I still hold on to this. My mom would say, Aurelia, sometimes you're going to go through things and it's not just for you. Sometimes you are strong enough to go through it, and that's going to be your story to tell and help somebody else. And that's always stuck with me. Even now, I'll tell my mom, man, I still hear your voice. Back then, I didn't want to hear that crap. What? I don't want to hear that. What? That was the last thing that I wanted to hear. But it's the truth. It's the truth. And it was wisdom. And so to hear you say that again, I can hear my mom's voice. She's still living. And so I'm going to have to call her and tell her, Mom, that saying came back up again today. Sometimes it ain't about, it's not just
Yeah.
about you. And I think sometimes we get so focused on ourselves and like self-pity and woe is me, or, but when we can, someone say, when you're down, as long as you can roll
Yeah.
over on your back and look up, you can get up. And so when you're down, just roll over and look up and see, look, actually you can get up. All you got to do is
Yeah.
fix your vision, raise your vision a little bit higher. Like you said, look at the bigger picture, take inventory of your life. These are key things for everyday living.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
here we are
wow,
with,
that's
this is
awesome.
how I got to This Means More, It's Bigger Than Me. Because I just, and what I didn't, to be honest, when that title came to me, I didn't even fully know or understand what it meant in that moment. But now that I've been through the processes, I've had the book for a little while, it's like, oh wow, like this really does mean more. And what I love about the book is it is, I feel like it's evergreen. So it does not matter. It's not just for one particular season of your life. There's something in this book, no matter
Yeah.
what season you're in, you're going to be able to find something that you can relate to and connect with. And so I'm just grateful because I think I've said it earlier, I'm really an introvert. I'm usually really quiet and stay to myself. And so things like this, right, get me out of my comfort zone. But that is what is required. If I'm going to inspire and uplift and encourage others, then I got to be willing to step outside of myself
Yeah.
in order to, help other people.
Yeah, and that's important. A lot of the authors that I meet are very introverted, and I'm like, why you write a whole book, sharing it with the world, but you're gonna be introverted? Don't you want to make an impact? If you want to make an impact, you got to speak up a little bit louder so people can hear you. And so, kudos to you. You know, I don't think I became an introvert until I started really dealing with people. I think just, and I'm working through this, right? I'm gonna say I was the kind of person who would blame others
Mm,
for the way that I was feeling until like I really had to take control of that. Like, no one is responsible for
absolutely.
my happiness. No one's responsible for my happiness. No one's responsible for my
Mm-hmm.
life but me. As an adult, I have control. I actually have a lot of control over the environments that I put myself in. If I'm in an environment where I'm feeling uncomfortable, well, who told me to go there? Why did I say it? Like, and so I'm learning, like, okay, actually, I have
Yeah.
a lot of control over my life. And I even think, like, to bring that back to what we're talking about, we do have a lot of control over our lives, even
Yeah.
in the hard seasons, even when we feel like things could be out of our control. Actually, we do have some control over it, even if
Yeah.
it's just our thoughts, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's just our way of thinking. Maybe you can't control the amount of money that you have coming in or whatever, those things that we worry about. Well, I don't have control over this. Like when COVID was happening, we didn't have no control over
Right.
being in the house for a month. A lot of us didn't have control over that. But I want to say that year was the first time that I published. I want to say that year I published
Oh, wow.
21 authors or something like that. It was close
Yeah.
because people were at home writing and they were making good use of their time. They were taking control of their time because they had more of it to work with. And so I love that you had used
Yeah.
that time to write your book.
No, it's okay. And
Sorry
one thing
about
I do
that.
want to like make sure I make plain is I started the book in the pandemic, and then I didn't finish the book in the pandemic though. I sat on it and I sat on it and I sat on
Okay.
it, and then it was finally like it was the towards the end of 2020, and it was like I have to get this book done. So I actually like took a time of prayer and fasting, and then
Mm.
I completed the book. In the bulk of the book was done in a 3 week process. But I started it in the pandemic, and that's when all the thoughts
Wow.
came. But I was running from them, so I didn't really get still in
Okay.
writing the book until like it was towards the end of the year. And it's like, no, you got to get this done. You got to get your story out there. And so I actually ended up writing the book in a 3 week process while I was praying and fasting. And but it all started in the
Wow.
pandemic though, and I just we all didn't know what was going to happen in the pandemic, and I
Right.
was like, me write a book, like what? And I was afraid too. Like I said, I was afraid of all. I had all the thoughts of fear, but I'm glad I pressed through because I wouldn't be here
Mm.
today if I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I've been loving this conversation. Shout out to Caleb Harris. He was the first author interview that I had this year, and I was a little like we got off, and I was like, Caleb, I'm so sorry. I felt like I was a little dry, and he was like, You're good. I said, I'm trying to get back into this interviewing authors because I love hearing about stories. I love what I get to do, and so thank you so much for taking the time and joining me and us having this conversation. I think it's really going to be a blessing to a lot of people. Yeah, someone said obedience, faith
Yeah.
over fear. Absolutely. Faith over fear. Man, how do we even get there though? Sometimes fear can have you stuck. Like, how did you even, can you tell us? I know you said fasting and praying. Was that it? Is that how you got over the fear? But then you said you put a pause on it. How did you
So
overcome the
to be
fear of
honest, it was
putting out your book?
community. It was my community. There were certain
Okay.
people that I had shared that I
Yeah.
was doing the book, and so my best friend, um, and a few, and her husband, and some people like they encouraged me on that journey. When I was, I kind of got quiet about that, what
Mm,
about the book. They would ask, "Hey, where are you with the book? What's going on with it?" So I told a handful of people around me
yeah.
that I know would continue to push me through the hard times. And then I was like, I gotta go to therapy. Because there was so much that it brought up that I was like, oh God, I gotta go. I was like, I still got
Wow.
some work to do in therapy too. And
Yeah.
so I like I said, attach myself to people that would hold me accountable in that process. So I have a whole chapter about community, and I would not be here today without my community, without my
Come
people who
on.
have supported me, who have encouraged me, who have prayed for me on the journey, who have fasted with me. It was my community that helped me overcome and push through. So even if it's just one person, you have to find someone that you can talk to, someone that you can trust, someone
Yeah.
that you can be open with without judgment, without fear, and just really lean on them, and y'all lean on each other. But yeah, it was my community that pushed me to really complete this process.
Yeah, isn't that something? Even thinking about my job as a mama, sometimes my daughter, it's so funny. She runs to me when she's afraid, right? Thinking about community, just that one person. I know that I'm that one person for her. When she's afraid, she comes to her mama. But I think that as people, we deal with fear better when we're not alone, because things can be scary when we are alone. But when you get some people in your corner, even like you said, just one person in your corner, it makes dealing with that fear a little bit more bearable. We can't just think that we can do it alone. And that's one of the things that I've been telling self-publishing authors. Yes, you can self-publish, but you don't have to do every step of the way alone. In fact, that's a sure way to make sure that your book never gets published, is if you're trying to do it alone. Unless you're just determined and you just gonna get it out there and that's just your personality type. But I have not met too many people like that. A lot of times self-publishing authors do better when they're connected at least to somebody that can help them get their book out there. Somebody, and even just in everyday life, like you were saying, we absolutely need community. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that and what you've put in
Yeah,
your book about
like I said, I would
community?
not be where I am without my community. When I am sad, when I am down, it is my community that lifts me up. When I need help and I've had a flat tire, I have somebody I can call to say, hey, can you come help me? So just having people that I can lean on, and then them lean on me, right? So it's a give and take balance of being
Yeah.
there to support each other. Like I said, without fear. My best friend and I, we've been best friends for over 20 years. And that relationship has been built off of us being there for each other, off of us being able to support each other and to do life together. So I am thankful that haven't had to do life alone, because like she said, it's the village. It's the village. It is our village. And so when I've had crazy thoughts, right, because we all know that whenever we're dealing with life and we're trying to process our thoughts, the worst place, the last thing you want to do is process that within yourself and in your mind only. You need
Yeah,
another
come on, come
perspective.
on.
You need another perspective.
Yeah,
And so having community,
yeah,
just really does help you bring balance into your life. So like I said, I'm grateful for my community. I would not be where I am and doing the things that I do without them. And they know who they are. So hey, community, I appreciate y'all and I love y'all.
yeah. So sorry about that. I was moving around. I had to go get my charger. I did not want my phone to turn off in the middle of the conversation. And so no, I was listening. That is so true. Even just from just mental health perspective. My goodness, when you're just in your head and when you're alone and trying to work through your own stuff, man, it's really difficult, and it could make matters worse. Even when you think that again, my mother, she would always tell me, sometimes you gotta tell somebody. If I don't tell her, I gotta tell somebody something about what's going on with me. And it's not just, you know, your dreams and your goals and finding accountability partners, but like life partners. Truthfully, having a village, I want to say I have a solid 3 people I know in my corner that if I was to call them at 2 o'clock in the morning, oh, they're going to answer the phone. Oh, they're going to answer the phone. First of all, I normally sleep at 2 a.m. First of all, I normally sleep at 9 p.m. Okay, I normally sleep. Okay, so if I'm calling them at 2 a.m., they know something's going on. And so my community knows that about me, and that's important. And even that takes courage. You know, earlier you had shared, you know, as an introvert, it takes courage, but we do share with people who we trust, and being open to growing relationships and even establishing relationships can be hard. You know, as an adult, it can be hard. It can be hard. And so, wow, this was a great conversation. I feel like we can go on and on and on. But is there anything else that you would like to share before we get off tonight?
Thank you for everybody. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. This has been a journey. This has been a journey, and I do want to encourage someone out there, because there is someone that's going to listen to this, and you're wondering, should I do it? Should I write the book? Should I put my story out there? And I'm going to say this is your yes, that you should, because someone needs what you have, and so you are here to encourage and uplift others, and your story is going to impact and change someone else's life. So imagine if each one of us changed one other person's life, and the domino effect that it would have in this world that we live in today. We need genuine connection. We need people to be authentic, to not be afraid to show up as themselves. And so someone needs what you have. And so I just encourage you to step aside, step in front of fear. That's what I had a friend recently tell me, that it would be, and I'm going to share this with this is for somebody else too, that it would be a shame to not step in front of fear. It would be an insult to yourself, excuse me. It would be an insult to yourself to not step in front of fear and show yourself to the world, because somebody needs what you have.
Hey, and on that note, we don't got nothing else to say. Where can they get your book from? I know one place where they can get it from. They can get it from webooksonline.com, which is my bookstore. And so you can check out her book there. But where else?
Website. It is NinaEvansLLC.com. You can get it there. You can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram, NinaEvansLLC.com. And you can go get your resources there.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much. This was a beautiful conversation. Like I said, the replay will be up on YouTube probably tomorrow. I am an early bird, and so you can expect it early morning tomorrow. And stay tuned. If you're an author and you're watching us and you want to be on Book Talk, definitely reach out and contact me. I would love to meet you and speak with you. Otherwise, y'all have a good weekend. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you for having me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.